what to do when you're not feeling enough in business. I know if you're watching this, you have courses, you're a coach, you're putting out programs and doing all these different things, and all we want is to have a consistent flow of clients, right? A consistent flow of clients that you fall in love with serving, that can not only give you the freedom, but can also create that impact that you're here to create. The challenge comes up when all these doubts enter your mind, all these doubts around, who am I to be charging this? Who am I to be teaching this? Who am I to be getting myself out there in this way? And no doubt, if you've studied any of this, you've looked up ways to change your mind, to learn more NLP, more reframing, even physical things in terms of breathing and exercise, in terms of managing your mind. But if this is a pattern that's coming up time and time and time again, and if it's impacting your business results, it may be because there's a deeper level, there's a deeper lesson that's here to be learned. And that's what we're going to dive in deep here in this episode. You're going to learn, one, what the truth is. What does this pattern actually mean when it comes up? Two, you're going to learn some quick tips, some advice on how to heal this pattern long term. And three, you're going to actually figure out what to do differently in business, what steps you can take to do differently in your business so that this pattern doesn't only come up, but so that it can be healed on the journey. Let's dive in. Hello to you and welcome back to another episode of the Awaken Your Business podcast. I thank you for being here. I thank you for subscribing, of course. And I want to thank you for implementing what you learn here, because what we do here is we use the business journey as a tool to advance your spiritual growth. And that's what we do here. And that's what we're looking at with this very pattern. I want to bring to you some of the deeper truths here. And what you're going to find is that it'll help you grow spiritually, but it'll also help with the impact of your business. So the first thing of what's really happening here is that the thought is not the problem. The thought is not the problem here. The thought going through your head of, oh, I'm not good enough, or I might not be good enough to put this out there, or to put this course together, or to give advice here. The thought itself is not the problem. It's the resistance. It's the avoidance. It's the judgments. It's the reaction to the thought where you run into some challenges, where you run into some real problems, when it makes an impact on your business. So I want you to notice when you have the thought, I'm not good enough. I might not be good enough here. What is it that you do? Do you try to avoid it? Right? Do you try to distract yourself? Do you resist it thinking it shouldn't be there, it needs to be fixed? Or do you do what most people do in business, and that's try to build a successful business in reaction to the pattern? So you have this thought, oh my God, I'm not good enough. And so therefore you try to put some things out there to make you seem like you're good enough. Now what that generally leads to when you react from this pattern is you get attached to outcomes, you get attached to results. The number of your Instagram followers is attached to your worthiness. Or maybe you come across in your marketing and sales from a place of desperation, or a place of neediness, a place of scarcity. This is really what happens. So it's not necessarily the thought, it's not necessarily the pattern that is the challenge, it's your resistance to it. The second truth here is that it's the opportunity. The fact that this is coming up, if it's coming up consistently as a pattern, it's generally coming up because this pattern's ready to be seen, it's ready to be felt, and it's ready to be healed. And here's the opportunity. We have on the business journey opportunities to enrich our soul so we can become more whole. And what that means is that when you experience uncertainty, when you experience doubt, when you experience uncomfortable emotions that come up, it's generally sides of you, lessons you're learning, and sides of you that you're integrating into yourself. So for example, if you feel a level of fear or scarcity on the business journey, it's because there's a side of you that feels scarce, that's ready to be seen, it's ready to be loved unconditionally, and ready to be healed. And it's generally so that you can give more value to the world. You can give more compassion, you can give more understanding, more creativity, more flexibility. And so this pattern of not feeling enough is a side of you. It's an internal pattern that's coming up because it's coming out. It's coming up because it's ready to leave. But when we resist, react, or when we avoid these particular emotions, we push them down. But it's your opportunity right now to feel that pattern, to express it, to see it fully and feel it fully, so this pattern can be healed. And no doubt, as we move forward with this episode, one thing you'll know is that this is all for you to be able to contribute at a deeper level. So this is your opportunity right now to feel it fully, to see this pattern for what it is and see the truth. And no doubt, when you feel this release, you're going to be able to give more and more to your clients as well. So onto the second part here, and that's the tips for this healing. And I know if you're a part of this journey with me, and if you're watching my content a lot, or you're in the serving circle, you know that this is a key part of my journey, of my business, of what I do. And I don't want you to fall into the trap of, oh, I know this already. Because one thing I know is the more you do this, the more you start to unravel. The more layers you start to unravel. It is an endless journey. So don't fall into the trap of thinking, I know this and I'm going to skip over it, because I can guarantee you there's different insights and lessons every time. So one of the first things to do, one of the tips or advice or steps that you have here, is to ask yourself, what does my mind fear most? What does my mind fear most here? When it feels not being enough, when I feel like I'm not worthy, or I don't have the skills, or there's something inadequately, fundamentally wrong with me. Notice what you feel, and notice what your mind fears most. Your mind fears being alone, or feeling unloved, feeling unseen. And this is a core pattern. This is a core internal 5-year-old that is ready to be seen in you right now. Is ready because it's coming up, because it's ready to be released. It's ready to be integrated into you in the form of making you more whole. So number one is to ask yourself, what does my mind fear most? You can ask yourself this 10 times a day, and it will give you the highway into the side of you that you're ready to see, and the pattern that's ready to be healed. The second step here is to see the pattern. Once you know what the pattern is, I want you to just sit with it, breathe, and see the pattern for what it is, without resistance and without judgment. Without resistance, without judgment. Meaning, can you sit there and see this pattern for what it is? This inner 5-year-old that's scared, this inner 5-year-old that's freaking out, this inner 5-year-old that believes that if I'm not enough, or if I don't get seen here, or if I don't succeed, then I'm not going to survive. See the pattern for what it is, without resistance, without judgment. And the more you can just hold a space for it, the more you'll start to see what it is, and the more you'll notice that the detachment from this pattern will start to take place. You'll start to become the observer of this pattern. You'll start to see it for what it is, and it'll no longer have that harshness of energy to it. And that's when we can start doing the third step. The third step is to feel it fully. This is almost my mantra. For everyone who's in my program or in the serving circle knows, everything that you feel that's coming up in the form of a pattern needs to be felt fully. Once again, without resistance or judgment. So I would ask you, what is it that you feel in your body? When you have this doubt come up, when you have this pattern come up around, I don't feel good enough. I don't feel good enough in business. I don't feel good enough with my marketing or with all of these things that I need to achieve. Where is it that you feel it? Do you feel it in your stomach, your legs, your solar plexus, your chest, your shoulders, your head? And what does it feel like? Does it feel there's a heaviness and emptiness? Does it feel aching? Does it feel like it's pulsating or moving? Does it feel jagged? Does it feel hot? What is it you feel specifically? And instead of avoiding the feeling, instead of trying to build your business so that you don't feel this feeling, instead of trying to get people to see you so you don't feel this feeling, instead of trying to change your world and external circumstances so you don't feel this feeling, it's your job to feel it fully. Feel it fully and welcome it. Allow it to be there. The more you allow yourself to feel unworthy, you give yourself permission to feel unseen. You give yourself permission to feel not enough. And you allow the not enoughness to be there. You hold a loving, safe space for it. What you'll be doing is holding a loving, safe space for that inner 5-year-old that wants to be seen. And that's all the pattern needs. All the pattern needs is to be seen fully and to be expressed, and that energy will start to move, it'll start to dissipate. The more you start to feel it fully, without resistance and without judgment. So take some time to breathe with that now before you move on to the fourth step. And once you've done that, the fourth step is to send it love. You're already holding a loving safe space for it, but actively send it love. Send this 5-year-old love. Don't need it to change. You don't need it to move. You don't need it to shift. You don't need it to do anything. You give them permission to feel how they feel, believe what they believe, and just send them love. You can send love to no matter what comes up in you. You can feel fully no matter what comes up in you. And what you'll be doing is, instead of trying to change it, instead of trying to shift it, instead of trying to do all the modalities we learn in NLP and try to avoid it and all those different things, you're going to allow the pattern to do what it needs to. And you're going to offer a deeper level of love. Because right now, I truly believe that to succeed, we need to love the side of us that can fail. Right? To succeed financially, we need to love the side of us that can go broke. And simultaneously, to really get out there and give our gift out into the world and create the change we want to create, we have to love the side of us that feels not enough. We have to love the side of us that feels unseen. We have to love the side of us that feels like they're unworthy. I truly believe that. We're reaching a level of consciousness where that becomes true. So work your way through these 4 steps. Feel fully, see the pattern, ask yourself what your mind doesn't want to have happen or what your mind fears most. And when you take time to breathe with that, we can move on to the next piece. Now, before we move on to what to do differently in business, I'm actually going to put a link in the description to a video, which is a live coaching session where I walk someone through all of these steps and how to overcome the fear of being seen. So I'll put that link below. You can check it out after this video. Trust me, you're going to love the insights, because watching someone go through it gives you a whole different perspective. But moving on here in terms of what to do differently in your business so your business will grow, number 1 is to fall in love with your client. Fall in love with your client instead of falling in love with your product or service. A lot of people, when they're feeling like not good enough, they're feeling like, oh my God, I believe this, and I'm following the path of just trying to be enough. What you're not focused on is your client. What you're not focused on is solving problems for them. What you're not focused on is being creative and resourceful, getting them from A to B, with helping them reach the outcomes that they're after. Now, the metaphor that is used also in the business world, I love it, and if it's overused, fair enough, but I'm going to explain it anyway because it's such a good reminder that if you're on a beach and you look around, you got your feet on the sand, you look around, no one's around, but you see all this lovely water, and you're walking down this beach, and all of a sudden you hear someone's drowning. There's someone drowning in the water. You look around, no one's around. Now, ask yourself what goes on in your head then. Is it, oh my God, I don't have enough experience with swimming? Or do I take my shoes off? Or what do I do here? Or what if I go and start swimming and people don't like the way I swim? Or I look silly, or I look bad? Clearly that's not going to go through your mind, right? You're going to get in there and you're going to save the person because there's no one else around and this person needs help. And what if I was to tell you there's people out there that need your help right now? There are people that need your help. There are people out there who need your services, who need your expertise. And by consistently going to a pattern of I'm not good enough is really a statement that says I'm focused on myself and not of my client, not of what I can serve and how I can give. But when you're focused on service, when you're focused on falling in love with your client and what you can do to serve, you'll get out of yourself and into them. You get out of yourself and into a space of creativity and resourcefulness and flow so that you can help that client get from A to B. Once again, you'll need to shift the pattern first so that you're not avoiding it, so you're not reacting to it. But once the pattern is shifted, shifting this level of focus is really going to help in business. Tip number 2 here is to put out B- work. What does that mean? A lot of people, when they're feeling not good enough, they try to get everything perfect. They're trying to get all the little details and everything to look right and everything to sound right, everything that's going to try to be perfect in their world. But that's so that when you put it out there, you're avoiding judgment, right? You're avoiding what other people are going to think of you. And at a deeper level, you're judging that side of you. You're judging the side of you that can make mistakes or look silly or whatever, be bad at something. And so when you put out B- work, not A+ work, but B- work, you start to shift all of that. You start to realize that when I put out A+ work, I may have spent too much time on this. Making it perfect means that I'm trying to save my ego while not serving the world in the best way. Because if you put out A+ work all of the time, you may have waited too long. You may have worked 30 hours on a landing page that could have taken 3 hours, and therefore you're not spending that time serving your clients that could be in your program or your courses, right? But when you put out B- work, you actually allow yourself to put it out there, and it's still great work. It still is efficient, it's still effective, and you can still test and tweak it. But you'll also be putting things out there in a way that serve. And so that's not necessarily 100% perfect, but one thing you'll be able to do is heal the pattern within you that says, I need to put things out there that are perfect. Give yourself permission to make mistakes. Give yourself permission to have some spelling errors or put a title out there that, took 20 minutes to craft and not 2 hours. But put out B- work and then just be testing and tweaking as you go, right? Testing and tweaking. You could work 30 hours on a landing page that you put out there and it doesn't work, right? But you can, when you put out B- work, not only are you able to serve at a higher level because you're able to consistently get more and more feedback and stay in your zone of genius, right? But you also get to heal the patterns within you that come up when you put it out there. So notice what comes up in you. Go back through the 4 steps listed earlier if there are uncomfortable emotions coming up. But trust me, when you put out B- work, you'll get a lot of that momentum going. What you'll start to notice is you start to notice a lot of shifts in your business. My third and last tip here on what to do different in business is be honest and vulnerable in your communication. When you're honest and vulnerable, when you're on the phone with someone, on a sales call, in your marketing, people feel it. Now, here's where it's really cool when it comes to the pattern of not feeling good enough. When you don't feel good enough, a lot of your communication with your audience or clients comes through the filter of, what do I say to make them like me? What do I say so that they can see me as an expert, or so they will sign up to my programs or services? But when you are open and vulnerable and honest, like brutally honest with yourself, or even if you're just completely vulnerable in a way that you just share some things that are on your heart, you'll notice that connects with people. It connects with people at such a deep level, but it also is soul enriching for you. It's just your heart flowing through without any filter, right? With just heart-to-heart guidance, heart-to-heart communication. Now, once again, you can do this on a sales call. You can do it on a phone call with someone. You can do it in your marketing, in your posts, on your videos. Ask yourself, what can I say? And how can I say it? What's the frequency I can say it at that's going to share a deeper level of vulnerability and openness and honesty? And notice what comes up in you. Does this pattern of, I need to be good enough here, or I worry about what other people think, is that coming up? If so, allow space for it. Allow it to be healed. But when you have the intention for your communication to be more vulnerable and be more open and honest, what you'll find is that your business will expand from a place of authenticity and congruency. Instead of trying to be a certain way, you just be you. And those who fall in love with you will fall in love with you. They won't fall in love with a persona or an act or something you're trying to portray, but they'll fall in love with you. They'll fall in love with your heart, and they'll fall in love with how you are showing up to serve. So they're my tips for you. See what you'd like to implement. But now it's time for you to share your truth. Which of these steps, which of these things would you like to implement in order to get your business moving forward and in order to heal this pattern of not feeling enough? I'd love to know below what your biggest takeaways were and what you want to implement. That'll be good feedback for me, and I'd love to hear from you. Take care, guys.